Hey guys, it's Doc here. Time again to talk about the X-Men 97 cartoon that is on Disney Plus. Today's episode is called Bright Eyes, and it's kind of a play on words because we get to see Cable in there, but we also get to see Scott Summers, aka Cyclops. So it could be about either one of them if you really think about it. But anyway, this episode again keeps up the really high quality that you've come to expect out of the series, but it continues the story of Scott and Jean and what is the legacy that Charles Xavier left behind, because they still don't know that he's alive. They don't know that he's not dead. So they are doing everything that they can to make sure that his legacy lives on through the new generation of mutants, through the ability to effectively communicate and educate and legislate with human beings, with Homo sapiens. In the meantime, they've also come to discover about the Tri Sentinel and Master Mold, and they find out that Gyrick and Bolivar Trask were behind these attacks. So they go to try to find Trask, not knowing that he's not really the big bad. There's somebody bigger than him, behind the shadows, behind the curtain. And it's not Mr. Sinister. It's somebody who's working with Sinister, but Sinister kind of downplays it and says, we have to figure out this game plan. We have to figure out what we're going to do. Excuse me, guys. My voice is acting squirrely today. Probably just because I'm tired from working last night. But anyway, the shadowy figure tells Sinister, the reason that you old villains that have been dealing with these X-Men for years upon years never succeed is because you don't evolve. You don't mutate yourself. You don't learn from the lessons of the failed plans before moving forward again with the same kind of harebrained scheme that didn't work the first time. So it's really getting in deep. It's getting in deep with the emotions that these characters feel. Rogue is still mourning not only Gambit, but she's mourning Magneto as well, because she thinks that they're both gone out of her life. And that might be the case, or it might not be. There's a little surprise twist at the end of the episode. But I really enjoy these shows. It does take me back to my childhood. And hopefully, if you came up in the same time frame that I did in the early to late 80s, and you were born then, and so you were a kid right around the time that these cartoons were showing, around 92, then you have that same nostalgia for these cartoons, for these characters. And you remember how important they were to you. And I think I've said this in a previous video, but I'd never really cared for the X-Men comics. I like Jim Lee, but to me, at the time, Jim Lee's artwork, being 11, 12 years old instead of being, 18 or 19 years old and understanding all the technical work that Jim Lee put into his artwork, as well as McFarlane's technique. I just fell on the McFarlane bandwagon. I didn't care for Jim Lee. It took a long time for me to appreciate Jim Lee at the same level that I do Todd McFarlane's artwork. Because to me, as realistic as Lee's figure drawing is, I mean, his Superman and Batman really seem like they could come off the page and, punch in the teeth. That's because he was going to go be a doctor. I don't know if anybody, I don't know if anybody knows that or not, but he was in med school and he was going to go be a doctor. So he was learning anatomy and how to draw the body in appropriate proportions. So that's why his characters look more realistic than, J. Scott Campbell, or somebody who draws an extremely untruthful waistline or breast size on a character. I got no hate for J. Scott Campbell. I love J. Scott Campbell, and matter of fact, I saw that he did some variant covers for the Ultimate Spider-Man book that came out today. I didn't happen to get a hold of one of those, and they're gone, long sold out in his store now, but it would have been really cool to have gotten one of those. So if anybody's watching this and you love J. Scott Campbell, I do too. I'm just saying that there's a difference in proportion sizes with Jim Lee's artwork and J. Scott's artwork. Anyway, to get back to what we were talking about, X-Men 97. I don't know what else to say about it really, as far as trying to heap praise on it, because at this point I've heaped 6 weeks worth of praise on this show. So if you're not watching it by now, then I guess you're not going to watch it. But I'm just telling you, you're missing out, because it's fun, and it's like a blockbuster. It's popcorn fare, where you could sit there and just watch it and zone out, and you don't have to be extremely invested in what's going on to understand where the plot is moving. But if you do pay attention, there's a lot of Easter eggs out there. There's a lot of hidden little, winks at you for those that pay attention, and those that read the Claremont X-Men issues and the Jim Lee X-Men issues, and, when they had the gold and the blue team, I believe it was. There's a lot of little special things that kind of add to it. And, I've been collecting The Walking Dead in the deluxe format, which is reprints of the original book, but they've been colored by Dave Stewart. I've got most of the original books, so I don't really have to have them. But one reason that I collect that series is because they have a thing in the back called the cutting room floor. And so it's Robert Kirkman for a page or two showing his rough script and his rough storyline at the back of the book. So I usually read that as well as the story for the second time, because I'm trying to learn how to format script for comic books and things of that nature. So I don't have to have it, but it's an extra, and it actually makes it more interesting to buy it, because I like Walking Dead in black and white just fine. I prefer it, actually. But in order to get these extras that might help me along my way, then they've provided that as long as I buy the book. Same thing. If you don't watch the show, then you can't really complain about it one way or the other. You can't say that it's great, you can't say that it's terrible, because you haven't seen it. But on the other hand, if you watch it and you really like it and you get into it and you get excited, then, they're already working on season 3, but this thing could possibly go for 4, 5, 6 seasons, maybe even more, depending on how long everybody stays interested in it. So anyway, guys, I'm tired. I've talked enough on this. I tend to ramble sometimes when I don't have a whole lot of sleep, so I apologize about that. But go out here and give this TV show a chance. Give it a shot. If you had any interest, any inkling at all that you enjoyed the original 92 cartoon series, you're going to like this. I promise you, you will. It's kind of like the second coming of that. So, thanks again for watching the video, guys. I've got a couple other videos coming up here shortly. So, let me go ahead and hop off here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. I've got a lot more content coming up. And I've actually got a video coming here shortly, probably within the next few hours, that I'm going to talk about a little bit about the future of the channel. So I hope that you guys will tune in for that, and I hope that you get enjoyment out of these videos because I love doing it. And we will see you next Wednesday for episode 8.